are back to the Spirit's book, and we are actually in the last item of the last chapter of the Spirit's book.
Wow, yeah, that's true.
So we are, we started last week, but we are going to start again on heaven, hell, and purgatory, which is starts on question 10:12 and ends on question 10:19, which is the last question of the Spirit's book. And then we will start all over again. Now, before we read, let me talk a little bit about heaven, hell, and purgatory, because sometimes we have a misconception of what exactly is heaven, hell, and purgatory. So, according to the religious beliefs that developed over time, but the general idea of heaven is a place that we go after death to be united with God for eternity. So that's the general, more common definition of heaven that you find amongst different religions. The definition of hell is a place that we are condemned to go if we haven't been good souls, and that we will be eternally separated from God. That's the general conception. Then you will find different definitions of hell and different interpretations, but the general definition is that a place that you go when you, most people will say, will commit mortal sins during your lifetime. Mortal sins being sins that are committed against the natural law and that you are aware of what you are doing. So it's a conscious act of going against the natural law or the God's law. You know, you have thou not kill, thou not, the 10 commandments. If you go against one of the commandments, you are committing and knowing that what you are doing, you are committing a mortal sin and you go to hell. And purgatory, it's a creation of especially the Catholic Church. You won't find purgatory in others. You'll find it in the Catholic Church. It was created around the year 1100, 1200. And it was created for the souls that need to be assisted, to receive I'll say here, that are going to be purified after death. So someone commits sin and repents at the moment of death. It's an example. Repents at the moment of death. So this person will go to purgatory to purify their souls. When they are purified, then they go to heaven. How can you purify your soul? Again, mostly what the church says is that through prayers and pious duties that the living do for them. So they wait there in the purgatory, and we do our part here, praying for them and asking for them to be assisted, and then they will redeem their souls and be allowed to go to heaven. Now, there is you'll find in the Jewish religion some references to something similar to purgatory, but not exactly. The Orthodox Church rejected the concept purgatory and was one of the main reasons that it continued to be separated from the Roman Apostolic Church when they decided to go with purgatory. And most of the Protestantism deny its existence. Not all of them, but most of them deny the existence of a purgatory. Okay? So these are basic definitions of heaven, hell, and purgatory. Because we are going to be discussing it, I thought it was important for us to understand where does it comes from. Okay, and then we'll go a little bit further. So, Paco,
Okay, good.
you just read we did the first two questions last week, but you are going to read 12, 13, and 14, and we'll stop there, okay?
Okay, 12, 14, and 12, 13, and 14. Okay. Heaven, hell, and purgatory. Are there any specific places in the universe set apart for the joys and sorrows of spirits according to their merit? We have already answered this question. The joys and sorrows of spirits are inherent to their degree of perfection. Each spirit finds the principle of its happiness or unhappiness in itself. As spirits are everywhere, there's no enclosed or confined place set apart for either one or the other. As for incarnated souls, they're more or less happy depending on how advanced the world is. Does this mean, thank you, does this mean that heaven and hell, as people have imagined them, do not exist? They're only symbols. There are happy and unhappy spirits everywhere. But as we have also told you, spirits of the same order are together by sympathy. When they're perfect, they can meet wherever they like. A fixed place for rewards and punishments exists only in the imagination of human beings. It stems from the tendency to materialize and define things of which one cannot grasp the infinite essence. What should we understand? Thank you. What should we understand as purgatory? It is a state of physical and moral suffering marked by a period of atonement. It is usually upon the earth that God affords you the opportunity to experience your purgatory and atone for your mistakes. Purgatory is a figure of speech that signifies the state of imperfection of spirits who need to atone for their faults until they attain happiness by achieving complete purification. It's not a specific place. Purification happens through several reincarnations. Consequently, purgatory consists of the trials of physical life.
Okay, Paco, I'm going to ask you to stop here. Yeah, because we went through this last week, but first I didn't see that Murilo had a question. He raised his hand and I didn't see. And second, I'm going to go over a little bit of what's said here. Murilo, you want to ask your question?
Yes. What's the difference between a purgatory and limbo? Limbo, for me, it's almost the same, no? Limbo in the purgatory.
Purgatory is the official name that religions use. Limbo it's basically the same, but it's not used by religions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So here, first we have to remember that these questions were asked by Kardec in the middle of the 19th century on a Catholic country with most of the population of Catholics. So the concept of heaven, hell, and purgatory was widespread and everywhere in France, and also in the other Catholic countries, right, around France. So it's only natural that he asks about heaven, hell, and purgatory. But what Spiritism brings to us here from the beginning is that they are only symbols, as he says here, because there are happy and unhappy spirits everywhere, and spirits of the same order are reunited by sympathy. When they are perfect, they can meet whatever they like. A fixed place for rewards and punishments exists only in the imagination of human beings. Again, our concept of not a fixed place was not something that we were prepared to deal with when we were, in the beginning of religion, the Catholic religion. So as the religious studies and start to evolve and start to become more and more official and more controlled by the state had to find ways to exercise control over people. And these concepts of heaven, hell, and purgatory, the system of punishment and reward, which is the system we use for children, were used for us as spiritual children, because it was something that we could understand and respect. As we evolve and we reach some sort of maturity, spiritual maturity, especially beginning of the 19th century, when science starts to separate itself from religion and starts to deny everything that religion tried to impose for many years, we had to find a middle ground, and that's why the spirits are bringing to us this idea that heaven and hell are only symbols. It took the church another 150 years to confirm that. John Paul II and Benedict XVI, both popes, that both have said that purgatory is not a place, but a condition of existence. But this is 10, 15 years ago. And Spiritism has been telling this for 150 years. So the definition that the spirits give to purgatory is exactly, it's exactly the definition that we understand without being a physical place. When we are atoning, we live in a world of trials and expiations.
Exactly.
Life on earth is a purgatory in the sense that we are atoning for our mistakes. You are correct. We are correcting and learning from our mistakes. So it's not a specific place. And as Kardec says here, purification happens through several reincarnations. So purgatory, if you want to use the term, it consists on the trials of physical life, okay? We went through this last week, but I thought it was important to go through again because we have some people that were not here last week, and as we are going to continue discussing this week, it's important for everyone to understand the concepts and understand how where does Spiritism comes from on these concepts of heaven, hell, and purgatory. So if you are, according to Spiritism, if you are living in a happy state of mind, you are in heaven, but not in the sense that you are there sitting on a cloud and playing harp. You are actively working, but with a happiness that the reward for your work, active work to the benefit of others brings to you. And hell is when we are going through the name hell. We're going through some difficulties that we cannot overcome. Sometimes we cannot see an end to it. So we find ourselves in hell. Again, is a state of mind. It's not a physical place. But we'll see a little bit more. Any questions here? Danny?
So these three concepts apply for spirits incarnated and also in the spiritual life, basically.
If we remove it from physical places, yes, you can be in heaven, you can be in hell, or you can, during your physical lives. But it's just a matter of if you want to use these words. But we don't really need to use these words, right? Because they are, once you reach perfection, heaven is a permanent state of mind. You are working in direct connection with God. But hell is a temporary state. Even if it looks like eternity, we are going to get out of hell, our own hell, one day, right? Depends on yourselves, on our free will. Now, the concept from the church of heaven and hell and purgatory was based on an external judgment. You will be judged by the life you led. So if at the moment of death, you are judged by how you behave during your life, some external judgments by God or by Jesus, because God and Jesus were one and the same for many of these religious beliefs, and you will be directed to heaven or hell, or if if you repent in the last moment, and that's why you have the priest coming to your deathbed and doing a prayer, and you ask for forgiveness. That's how you end up in purgatory, right? Because you repent at your deathbed, and then you ask for masses, you ask for prayers, and that's how you're going to repent. That's the official version of the church of where you end up. Okay. All right, Paco. 10:14.
Okay. Why do spirits whose speech reveals them to be superior answer questions from serious individuals about hell and purgatory according to common beliefs? They speak in a language that is understandable to the people who pose the questions understand. When these individuals are deeply immersed in preconceived ideas, the spirits avoid interfering with their convictions. If a spirit were to tell a Muslim without the proper cautions that Muhammad was not a true prophet, it would be poorly received. That is understandable for spirits who want to educate us. How is it that others, when questioned about their situation, reply they are suffering the tortures of hell or purgatory? When they are inferior and not completely dematerialized, they retain some of the earthly ideas and describe their impressions using terms that are familiar to them. The state allows them to obtain only a very flawed view of the future. This is why errant spirits, or those recently freed from the physical bodies, often speak in the same manner as they did during physical life. Hell means a life of extremely difficult trials, characterized by uncertainty with regards to improvement, while purgatory is a life of trials embarked upon with the certainty of a happier future. When you experience intense pain, do you not say that you are suffering a cursed soul? The expression is only a figure of speech.
Okay, so when we talk about the revelations from the spirits, it's something that we have been discussing, and we discussed, I think, in a couple of Sundays. The spirits will give us the message according to their level of evolution and according to our capacity to understand. We discussed this, that it's very difficult for them to describe heaven to us, the state of eternal happiness, because we don't even have words for them to explain to us. So the spirits will use what is available to us in terms of language and knowledge, respecting our limitations. And when they gave the example here of Muhammad telling a Muslim that Muhammad, if you were to tell, they are not saying that he was not, they're just saying, if you were to tell a Muslim that Muhammad was not a true prophet, it will be poorly received, and we know the consequences of that nowadays, right? That we just had some killings in France this week because of that. So we can go back to Spiritism, the beginning of Spiritism in this country, that was mixed with spiritualism, that you wouldn't have messages about reincarnation because you could be poorly received here in the US, where you had slaves. If you are going to say in the mid 19th century to a slave owner that he had a chance of being reincarnated as a slave because he was mistreating slaves. Of course, he would not consider Spiritism. And you'll find that on the Spiritist Review US edition that the USS Federation just published. You'll find all these interesting articles that Kardec wrote in the Spiritist Review at that time. So it's very important to understand that, because we have people that say, "Oh, it's the truth, so I have to say," and not really. The question is the truth going to benefit? Is it going to do more harm than good? Here, we're not saying that spirits are going to lie. Okay, what they are saying is the spirits may not tell us the complete truth because of our lack of capacity of understanding it. They may hide things from us if they think it's important at that moment for us not to receive it because we are not prepared, or because they don't have the words to describe what they want to describe. Now, when we're talking about less evolved spirits, which is question A here, of course, the spirits are going to express what they're feeling. So, and we know this much better through the books of André Luiz and other similar books, that the suffering spirits will sometimes come and say that they are in hell, will sometimes come and say that they don't deserve forgiveness, that they are condemned to eternal hell because they feel guilty. So they are going to describe their reality in a, as they say here, in a flawed way, because that's what they know. You can only teach what you know, right? They can try to create images of more evolved worlds, but they've never been there, so they cannot tell us what it is. What they can tell us is about their suffering. So they will tell us they are living in hell, which is a difficult situation, and they even say that they are in purgatory, because especially for those spirits that don't understand, and they comes from a religious background and believe in the existence of purgatory, if they find themselves in a place that doesn't look like heaven because they are not finding any happiness there, but also doesn't look like hell because they don't see any fires or any eternal damnation or the devil or things like that. So what's the logical conclusion? I'm in purgatory, right? So that's how they are going to describe where they are, because they know what is heaven and what's hell, the two extremes, and they know they are neither on one or the other. So they are going to tell us that they are in purgatory, and they are going to describe their experiences. We are not saying that they are going to lie, but they are going to tell us what they know, limited to their knowledge. And that's what the spirits were trying to explain to us here. Okay? Questions?
John, so could we say that are we going through now with this pandemic, we're going through hell?
Depends.
Sort of hell, but it's a state of mind. It's not a state of mind, it's happening.
Yes, but how you see it
temporary,
is what, your state of mind. Yes. If you see it as an opportunity of growth, of change, of learning different things, then you can see it different. You can tell that for you it hasn't been hell, it has been a learning experience. Again, it's individual, right? Heaven, hell are individual states.
Okay.
Got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, a question. Can I say that Earth, planet Earth, or dimension Earth, is a purgatory kind of dimension?
Yes, that's exactly what the spirits told us here. That if you change purgatory from a state after death to an opportunity of atonement, repairing, and progress, to that through purgatory you reach heaven. That's the definition original from the spirits, from the religions. So from spiritism, through the several experiences on earth and progress, you are going to reach, you are going to be closer to perfection, you're going to be closer to heaven. So you can do this analogy if you want. It's not, it's not wrong.
I can also say, especially me, I can also say that I could be on earth in the middle of hell.
Yes.
Huh?
There are many people that say that they are living hell, right?
Hell.
Yeah.
Sometimes oblivious of the hell that they're going through. Yeah.
Don't we have the expression living hell?
Yeah.
Yes. That's my point. Very good. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Moral state,
Yeah. And again, it depends of your financial condition. It's really individual. Yes, Danny.
Why financial?
Zoraida's question brought me to think that we can see, at least I could understand her question in a way that collectively we are not in the best place, right? As a humanity now because of the pandemic. It's like not isolated. It's like everybody, the whole planet. It's some places are better than others, some countries or continents, but everybody's going through the same
struggles.
Yeah, but it changes individually, but there is a virus that in itself is creating all these, let's say, hell or difficulties, struggles for everybody.
Yeah, it's we can call it collective karma, right? If you want.
Yeah.
Because we know that karma is individual, is by cities, by states, by countries, and by the whole population.
Yeah.
We are, it's a collective karma, which is a consequence of our own behavior, our own collectively, right? Because the pandemic is something that we caused to ourselves. There was some in the beginning of it. We heard some messages that was either the pandemic or a third world war. So the pandemic is a better alternative. Again, there is no. Once you choose one path, you don't know the other path. But it's a possibility here. And maybe the alternative would be worse. Yeah. And again, if we compare what we're living now with the Black Plague in the Middle Ages, we're much better than them, but much better than them. They had no defense, didn't know how to protect themselves, and half to 2/3 of the population of Europe died.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yes. And even the Spanish flu of 100 years ago, the number of people that died was from 50 to 150 million people in the world. We are, this pandemic, we're in the thousands, right? We haven't reached, I think we reached 1 million people, right?
Yes.
But yeah, more than 1 million in the world. But the Spanish flu was 150 million. And with a much smaller population of 2 billion. So, we have 4 times more people, and well, we hope we are not going to get there. But anyway, the worst situation is always the one that we are living, not the ones that, we were past. But we have to have this bird's eye view on what we are going through, to see the advantages that we have in a more advanced world to deal with this pandemic now that we didn't have 100 years ago, and even more 1,000 years ago on all the other pandemics. Kardec lived in the time of a pandemic also. They had I think it was cholera that they had. I'm not sure, but in 1870 in Paris, there was a plague there. And he talks about it on the Spiritist Review, one of the Spiritist reviews. So, but again, yes, Elmo.
I think it's very interesting that we are almost doing what the Catholics does, placing the concept of heaven, hell, purgatory in a physical location. But the Spirit says over here on 10:12, it's a very important part of the answer when they say each spirit finds principle of happiness or unhappiness in itself. And we see in our mediumship on Mondays, medium Mondays, that there are times we receive spirits definitely in a very unfortunate situations. And we tell them, we offer you happiness. And they say, what are you talking about? I am happy. I couldn't be any happier than what I am right now. That spirit, living perhaps in the lowest of the lower zones, but in a position of leadership, in a position of enslaving others, of abusing others, it's a complete state of happiness. That individual is living heaven. And sometimes, in our discussion, conversation with the spirits, I have to shut up and say, yeah, what can I say? If your concept of happiness, that's what you found in you yourself, as the spirits are telling here to us, yes, you are living heaven. And the same time, another spirits in that same environment, being tortured, being enslaved by that person, will state that they are living their hell. So right here on Earth, right now, with the pandemic or without the pandemic, individually, there are individuals undergoing a state of heaven, individually undergoing a state of hell. I think we need to be very careful with the way you're almost going back to the concepts of the Catholic Church when we use
it. Yes, true. Very good, Elmo. Very good. That's true. Very good.
Welcome back, Elmo.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Paco.
Okay. What should we understand as, quotations, a tormented spirit? An errant and suffering spirit, uncertain of the future, as to whom you may provide assistance that it often requests by contacting you in its attempt to obtain relief. Okay.
So here, this question, Kardec was forecasting the work that we do in mediumship meetings today, right? Assisting spirits, suffering spirits that come and in search of relief. Even sometimes they do not recognize that they're searching for relief, but all of them are suffering spirits that need to be assisted. So these spirits that are, again, errant spirit is a spirit that is in the spiritual world, still in need of reincarnation, right? Mm-hmm. Perfected spirits are no longer errant spirits. While we are progressing through reincarnations, we are all errant spirits in the spiritual world. So an errant and suffering spirit, which means that there are errant spirits that are not suffering. We know that. A lot of spirits in the spiritual world are doing their job. They're trying to learn, they're trying to help and assist, and we see that in the André Luiz's books. But a suffering spirit that find themselves in the lower zones, they find themselves being consumed by guilty, being consumed by persecutions or unhappiness, that's what they call here a tormented spirit, a spirit that cannot find their way out of their hole. And that's where we can be of assistance to this type of spirits that are brought to our mediumship meetings on our case on Mondays. Okay.
Mhm.
Very good. Very good. How should we understand the concept of heaven? Do you think that it's a place like the Elysium of Greek mythology, where all good spirits are crowded together haphazardly, with no other care than that of enjoying passive happiness for eternity? No, it is universal space. It is the planets, the stars, and all the higher worlds where spirits enjoy all the faculties fully, without having to experience the ills or misfortunes of material life, or the suffering that is characteristic of inferiority.
Okay.
Wow.
So
explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, the Elysian in ancient Greece, Elysium or Elysian fields, it's a conception of afterlife that developed over time, and that was maintained by Greek religious and philosophical sects and cults. So they had Hades, which was hell, and the Elysium's fields were reserved for mortals that were related to gods or other heroes. But also later they included all those chosen by the gods, the righteous, and the heroic, where they would remain after death, living a blessed and happy life and indulging in whatever employment they had enjoyed in life. So it's the concept of paradise, but in a sense that we are there, all crowded together, all living happily ever after without doing anything positive. And the spirits are saying, do you think really is this? That's time for you to get over this concept. Heaven is everywhere. It's the planets, it's the stars, it's all places where spirits enjoy all their faculties fully without having to experience ills and misfortunes of material life or the suffering that is characteristic of inferiority. So it's a state of mind again. When we reach a state of perfection or evolved enough, we can start to inhabit heaven wherever we are. It doesn't matter where we are, it will be heaven for ourselves. When we are working in the lower zones, assisting suffering spirits and rescuing sufferer spirits, we are in heaven if we are, doing our work. So it's important, the distinction here. And we can imagine that this heaven that was the ancient concept of heaven, it was boring after a certain time, right? How long? Elmo just came back from 3 weeks vacation. Would you stay there 10 years, Elmo, doing the same thing?
You gotta come back. I have to go back and become active.
Yeah.
Being active brings happiness.
Yeah.
But it's interesting in this specific question that you can also think in the sense that we aggregate ourselves in accordance to our level of moral, intellectual evolvement, right? So in a place where highly evolved spirits who are completely free of all the vices, who are in a state of completely happiness, that being absolute peace with their own conscience, and all those spirits aggregate in that environment, we could say that that is a local, is a space in anywhere in this universe that would say this is a place of heaven. but not because the place is heaven, but it's a place of heaven because all the minds are in the state of heaven,
Got it. Got it.
and they will get
Very good.
together.
Yes.
The same way where you have extremely unevolved spirits who find again happiness is to abuse others, to step on others, and they all aggregate together in an environment. You may call that hell. Is a place of state of hell, not the place is hell, but a place of state of hell.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, may I? Does it? That means that there are souls here on this earth that may even experience tribulations, but given the state of heavenly bliss within themselves, they are beyond those tribulations.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, I get you. I understand that. Very good, Elmo. Very good explanation. Very good.
Yeah, you know, on a class that Luis gave yesterday to his group, he was talking about a book by Ramiro Gama, which is Beautiful Cases of Francisco Xavier, and he was telling that Ramiro's description of the time that he was hearing Chico Xavier tell him his stories, he felt like he was in heaven and he could be there forever. You know, he was in a state of heaven. And I can imagine sitting with Chico Xavier, listening to his cases, you are going to feel that you are in heaven. The energy around him
Exactly.
must have been something extraordinary, right? So, you know, it's possible. Heaven is here. It's just we have to find it in our own minds, right? Right, Luis?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. This is very good. Okay, go on.
Right. Yes.
Spirits have said that they inhabit the fourth and fifth heaven, and so on. What do they mean by this? You ask them which heaven they live in because you have the idea that there are different levels of heavens, like stories of a home. So they answer to you according to your personal beliefs. For them, references to a fourth or fifth heaven mean different degrees of purification and happiness. The same applies when you ask a spirit whether it is in hell. If it is unhappy, it says yes, because hell is synonymous with suffering. However, it knows perfectly well that this is not a furnace. A pagan would have replied that it was in Tartarus. The same may be said of other similar expressions, such as the city of flowers, the city of the elect, the first, second, or third sphere, and so on, which are only allegories used by some spirits figuratively, whether out of ignorance about the nature of reality or simply because they lack any knowledge or even the most elementary principles of science. According to the restricted idea of specific locations for rewards and punishment, and the common belief that Earth was the center of the universe, that the sky formed a vault, and that there was a region of stars, people placed heaven up above and hell down below. This resulted in expressions such as to ascend to heaven, to be in the highest heaven, to be cast down into hell, and so on. Astronomy has mapped out Earth's history and described its formation. Today, science has demonstrated that the Earth is one of the smallest worlds in space and has no special significance. That space is infinite and that there is neither up nor down in the universe. As a result, it has become necessary to stop placing heaven above the clouds and hell in the depths of the earth. There was never a specific space assigned to purgatory. Spiritism provides the most rational, impressive, unconsulted explanation about all these three subjects to human beings. It shows us that heaven and hell exist in ourselves. In a similar vein, we find purgatory in the state of incarnation in our successive corporeal or physical lives.
Okay, so we hear these expressions, right? Fourth and fifth heaven, and we know that the spiritual plane has different planes of existence. You think of André Luiz that is in Ossular, and he receives a visit from his mother that is in a more evolved place, so it's another plane of existence. So there are different levels of the spiritual world, but it's not it's not really physical levels. It's state of mind, right? That you find yourself reunited with the spirits that live in a similar mental vibration that you are. So what the spirits told us here is basically that the spirits will tell us according to our own knowledge and our own understanding. So they'll tell us what we are more comfortable to believe. So that's why you will see spirits that come in places that have different beliefs, telling positions and expressions adapted to their beliefs. I was reading yesterday something from the African religions in Brazil. The sects of African religions, the Umbanda, the Candomblé, and a lot of things that they say there of when the spirit dies and how it divides itself. There is a lot of words to explain things that in Spiritism we explain much more simpler, but it's what they feel comfortable with and with what they believe. So if we need to think about fourth and fifth heaven, and if we need to think about the different physical places, what we really need to understand is these are different degrees of purification and happiness. Just that. They are not physical places. And then Kardec, gives a very good explanation of where does the concept of heaven above and hell below comes, right? According to our understanding that Earth was the center of the earth, and though we thought that there was the stars were all placed there above us, and so we thought that heaven was above the stars, and hell, we thought that it was below us. So all these concepts that Spiritism, as he says here, provides the most rational, impressive, and consoling explanation to all these three subjects to human beings. Heaven and hell exist in ourselves. Purgatory, in the state of incarnation, in our successive corporeal or physical lives. As simple as that. Tartarus was the hell from the Greek mythology, right? That at the same way we had the Elysian fields or Elysium, Tartarus was the deep abyss that was used as a dungeon of torment and suffering for the weak and the prisons for the Titans. The place where souls are judged after death and where weak receive divine punishment. Okay, that was according to the Greek, the concept of Tartarus, hell. So you see that hell hasn't, we just change a little bit, but hell continues, definition continues to be the same. Okay, any other questions? Okay, next to last.
Okay, how should we interpret Christ's words, "My kingdom is not of this world"? When he replied in such manner, Christ was speaking figuratively. He meant to say that he only reigns over pure and unselfish hearts. He is wherever the love of goodness reigns. But those who are greedy for or attached to the things of this world are not with him.
Yes. So when Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," he said more specifically because the Jewish people, they were waiting for the Messiah that would come and dominate the world. So they would, but they were thinking of someone who would dominate with armies and conquering the whole world. So the whole world will become subject to the Jewish people. And they are still waiting for that Messiah that hasn't arrived for them yet. Jesus comes and says, "My kingdom is not of this world," because the incarnation is temporary. It's really a very short period of time in our eternal existence. So our true home is a spiritual home. So the Christ kingdom is really the spiritual home world. So it's not of this world. And what he meant to say is that, if you want to be together, reunited with Christ, you have to leave material attachments behind and be pure and unselfish of heart. That's the way to reach his kingdom, who is not of this world in that sense. Okay.
Okay.
Are we going to do the last question of the Spirit's book? The Spirit's book has 1,019 questions, and this is the last one. Just for your information, we started in middle of 2017, this last reading of the Spirit's book. So less than 3.5 years we did it.
Wow.
And, we start again. Okay, last one. Go on. Oh, Anton has a question. Sorry, Anton has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question relating to 1012, and it's saying that purgatory is of this earth. So I just want to clarify. I understand that heaven and hell, they're states of mind that you choose relatively to the spirit's evolvement. And when a soul discarnates, the spirit will go through its mind, and depending on its experiences, it may go through a like the umbral. Now, could the umbral be regarded as a purgatory? Because that it's kind of like a trial in itself, where the spirit is awakening to truth, becoming aware.
You really can call it if you want, Anton, because it's not a physical place and it's not a specific place, but you can, if you want to say that you are your life is not hell, but you are going through suffering, you can say that you are in purgatory. And some spirits in the spiritual world that are in the lower zones may say that they feel they are in purgatory. But the Spirit says here that the best comparison, analogy to purgatory would really be the earth and our process of trials and atonements that we go through here on earth. So earth will be the most adequate comparison to purgatory, in the sense of repairing the mistakes and improving ourselves. But again, it's words and definitions that our mind, each one of us will define according to their own needs and their own comfort. So you could say, if that some spirits are in purgatory in the lower zones because they may feel them like that.
Do spirits go through trials and expiations in the spirit realm?
Actually, trials are opportunities to growth that you go through in incarnations, the physical world, experiences that will help you grow, and atonements or expiations can be both on the physical world, on the spiritual world. They're more likely to be in the physical world because that's where we are surrounded by spirits of all levels of evolvement. But in the spiritual world, you can go through an atonement, meaning if you are trying to repair mistakes that you made, being of assistance to those that you have hurt, and you are going through the mental pain, it is a type of an atonement. It is, you can call it an atonement, but normally the spirits tell us that trials and atonements are in the physical world, happen in the physical world. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Paco, let's go. Last one.
What's the last one, no?
Yeah.
What is it? Well, okay. Will goodness ever reign on earth? Goodness will reign on earth when among the spirits who come to live here, the good outnumber the bad ones. They will usher in a reign of love and justice, which is the scourge of goodness and happiness. Through moral progress and adhering to God's laws, humanity will attract good spirits to earth and will keep the bad ones away. However, the latter will not definitely leave earth until its people are completely free of pride and selfishness. The transformation of humanity was predicted, and you are now approaching the time when it is destined to take place. Progress will happen when higher spirits incarnate and create a new generation on earth. The wicked spirits who die each day and all who try to halt advancement are excluded and forced to incarnate somewhere other than earth. They will be out of place among the honorable members of the human race, whose happiness is impaired by the oppressors. They will go to new, less advanced worlds where they will carry out difficult missions. These missions will provide them with the means of advancing while contributing to the advancement of their younger, less evolved brothers and sisters. In this exclusion, do you not see the true significance of the transcendent image of the paradise lost? Do you not also see in the appearance of human beings on earth under similar conditions and carrying the seeds of passions as well as proof of the primitive inferiority within themselves, the real meaning of original sin? Considered from this perspective, original sin consists of the imperfection of human nature. Therefore, each member of the human race is only responsible for their own imperfection and wrongdoing, and not for that of their ancestors. All of you, people of faith and goodwill, must enthusiastically and courageously devote yourselves to the noble work of regeneration. You will in turn reap 100-fold for every seed you sow. Woe to those who close their eyes against the light, because they will sentence themselves to centuries of darkness and sorrow. Woe to those who focus their happiness on the things of this world, because they will suffer hardship that far exceeds their present joys. And above all, woe to the selfish, because they will find no one to help them bear the burden of their misery.
St. Louis. So we finished the book with a wonderful message from St. Louis, telling us that Earth is going through a transition, and that goodness will reign on Earth when the good outnumber the bad ones. Meaning, a world of trials and atonements is a world where evil prevails over goodness. A world of regeneration, where we are entering, is a world where goodness prevails over evil. So it doesn't mean that only goodness will exist, but you will outnumber evil. So we are moving into this planet of regeneration, and as we are moving into this planet of regeneration, spirits that do not fit will move to a less evolved world, to a less advanced world. It's not a punishment, it's a matter of attuning. So if you cannot attune yourself to a place where goodness prevails because you are not prepared to live in a place where goodness prevails, you are going to go to a less evolved world. It doesn't mean you are regressing. It just means that you can no longer incarnate on a place that is more evolved than you are. That's how Earth was received the greatest advancement when the exiles from Capella came here at the time of the Egyptian civilization, and 3 other places that they went, to China, to where is Iraq today, the Tigris and the Euphrates, and a part in Europe, and all the ones that went to Egypt that caused the big intellectual advancement of humanity. It is said they all went back to Capella already. Some of the others are still here amongst us. So there is punishment for these spirits, but it's caused by themselves. It's not it's the external cause. Yes, Paco.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm very positive, but I'm not looking at it in terms of punishment. I'm looking at it in terms of if you're not keeping up with the pace, it really doesn't pay for you to be here because you're not keeping up with the pace. You have to be placed in an environment that you're able to learn and keep up with the pace until you're ready to come back here. Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
So it's not really. It's not really punishment. It's an opportunity for me not to get lost in this dimension that is far advanced and I don't know where I'm at. Yes. So I am reincarnated in a less advanced as compared to this one, in order for me to keep up pace with the changes and the development until I may be ready to come back here. Yeah. But I don't look at it as punishment. That's my point.
Yeah. Well, some people call it punishment, but it's not an external punishment. That's we want to make very clear. It's it's the natural law. You stay where your vibration allows you to stay, right? I always give the example of the church and the bar, right? In one next to the other. You choose if you want to go to the church or the bar. And when there is not enough people to go into the bar closes and moves to a place where they will attract more people. Exactly. And those that used to go to the bar, they will move to other places.
They will go back to the bar. Exactly.
So that's the example that we use here to you go where your vibration takes you.
Exactly.
And so he leaves us with a message here, and it's very important that we reflect on it. All of you people of faith and goodwill must enthusiastically and courageously devote yourselves to the noble work of regeneration. You will in turn reap 100-fold for every seed you sow. And then he said, woe to the others that are not interested in doing that, because they are going to struggle and they're going to find themselves left behind, in a sense, as Earth evolves. Okay. All right, we finish it. Any questions? Wow. Any last questions, comments? No? Okay, so what lies ahead for us? Next week, where we are going to start all over again. For those of you that were with us when we started this, you remember that I gave a talk about an introduction to the Spirit's world, Spirit's book.
Yes, I remember that.
And I'm going to do it again next week, because I think it's important for all those that missed to have an opportunity to really understand the pedagogical structure of the Spirit's book. That's the theme of the talk that I'm going to give next week. Instead of the study, we are going to have this talk, this lecture, okay, that I'm going to present. The same one that I presented 3.5 years ago when we started this book. And it's important for us to understand why and how the Spirits book was structured by Kardec.
Yes.
I invite you all to be with us next week, okay? It will be our regular time, 6:30. You know, same old, but it's just going to be a slightly different format. It will be a lecture. So this Saturday we are going to have a lecture with Flavio Zanetti from at the U.S. Spiritist Federation. He was supposed to give the lecture 3 weeks ago, but he got sick at the day he was presenting it, so we had to cancel. It's Well-Being Through Forgiveness, a Spiritist Perspective from Flavio Zanetti. You probably know him from the symposium and other events. He lives in Massachusetts, and he's from the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Massachusetts. Okay, so you are all invited Saturday, 11 a.m. through the United States Spiritist Federation, YouTube, Facebook, and TVSay YouTube. Now, remember that Sunday, from Saturday to Sunday, we change time. So if you know, we are going to be 1 hour later compared to today, but it's still 11 a.m. But we gain 1 hour from Saturday to Sunday. For those that are not here in the US, you have to come 1 hour later because we change time from Saturday to Sunday. Okay.
So how we go back, or we go back.
Yes. So this Sunday will be, this Sunday we'll be studying in the Greater World. And then after we will have our Q&A session that we have every first Sunday of the month, okay? So I hope to see you on Sunday. Zoraida, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, absolutely. To our spiritual benefactors, all that have contributed here tonight to the ending of the Spiritist book, which we will start again next week. We are so grateful, dear Father, for the studies of understanding the spirit world and who we are, why we're here and where we're going. Thank you, dear Lord. Allow us to continue throughout the week with prayers, with studies, and meeting again. And to remember to keep ourselves in prayers for our brothers and sisters that are going through so much in this planet Earth now. To keep them with strength. Help all those that are there in hospitals and hospices, all that are contributing to help and guidance. Keep them safe and strong, dear Father, and we will do our part. We thank you for the teachers. We thank you for the mentors, all that continue to guide us throughout our life here on this planet. Thank you, dear Lord. And with that in mind, we ask permission to close this part of the meeting tonight. So be it.